So these are the first words of Courtney Clenney sitting down with police. It looks like right after this happened, it looks like she was yanked out of her home, still wearing almost night clothes. So that gets us to the first question in our investigation. There it is. What does Courtney Clenney's police interview that we just watched, what does it reveal about this case? Let's bring in our guest to help us answer that question. We have with us former Judge Tarlika Nunez-Navarro. She's also a dean of St. Thomas University College of Law, and criminal defense attorney Joanna Nieves is with us as well. Good to have you both on. Tarlika, let me start with you. When we are listening to that interview and interrogation, what is standing out to you from that? All right, looks like, Tarlika, we have lost your signal. So, Joanna, let me ask you this question. In listening to that interrogation, and again, what's standing out, especially when we're recognizing that ultimately this is a self-defense or murder case, but there's also elements, it sounds like, of an accident?
Yeah, hi Julia. Thanks for having me. So one of the things that comes to mind when I'm watching is how is this going to play out in front of a jury when they take this into consideration? If this is ever seen, what comes to mind? And a lot of times juries operate from this space of common sense and experience. And we as individuals make assessments about when people are telling the truth or when they're lying and what seems believable. And here we see that she's telling a story at first that's really consistent in pace and pattern at the very beginning, and she's talking about Subway and the order and what happens. And then when it comes down to what happened with the choking and where she was standing and how when the knife was thrown and how she was holding it up, she takes a number of pauses and tries to recall the story that she wants to tell. I don't think that in the interview it comes across as credible, and that might be something that the jury concludes as well as they're making their assessments.
Interesting. And yeah, at the beginning, it almost seems like it doesn't match just in terms of the context. We're talking about the stabbing death of someone, and I'm sure police told her you need to start at the beginning. She's talking about her Subway order, whether he recited it back to her, whether he got it right. It seemed like things were going just fine. And then there's this question of whether or not he sent his location, and we know that this was a volatile situation, that there was a lot of jealousy in this relationship. How do you think that plays into what police in this interview are thinking?
Yeah, I think they didn't arrest her right away as the subject of the murder, but I do think that it added up after a while, right? We're aware that there was a confrontation or an encounter with police where she was asking for a restraining order, and there were several instances like the elevator video where she's, wailing on him, and that this was a volatile relationship. So when you hear something that it does seem like it was a minor conversation that she started out with, and then there's dispute about their location, even the smallest of instances in these toxic relationships involving domestic violences can turn, instantly into tragedy like this one did. So here we are, okay, what might be a normal argument about where were you and what's your location with a more healthy relationship, all of a sudden ended up with somebody being stabbed to death.
And we have a situation here where she is claiming battered partner syndrome. It's what she's going to go to trial with as her defense. So not only self-defense, but also saying that even if self-defense alone isn't enough, this is what I was dealing with. But I want to talk about something that you mentioned, the delay, Joanna, in the arrest of this defendant of Courtney Clenney. Looks like I've lost both of our guests, but we are going to talk about what's happening next in this trial, because this is a case that wasn't set to go to trial for a while. The judge has put it on the docket. So we're going to continue to talk about this. We're going to catch a break.